Welcome to the SIP, the Solstice Innovations podcast. In each episode, we chat with industry experts and innovators in insurance and Insurtech. Join us for insights on trends, technologies, and the stories driving our industry forward. Let's sip on knowledge together at the SIP. Hi, this is John Umstead with Solstice Innovations. In this episode of the SIP, our guest is Joseph Dechatelets, who is a former CEO of a super regional insurance company and current consultant. All right, Joseph. Well, welcome to the SIP. Appreciate you taking time to be here.
Awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, hey, before we get into some industry type questions, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background, your journey from being an insurance executive to consultant, and
Sure.
anything in between.
Sounds good. Well, I've been in the insurance industry ever since I graduated college. So I've been in it for about 39 years. Started, like I say, right out of college and went to work for a super regional for about 23 years. Left to become CEO of another regional company. Stayed there for about 7 years, and I went to another company down in Alabama. Actually, I retired from the second company, and while I was doing some consulting, this company down in Alabama needed help, and they hired me, and I ran the company until we were able to sell it. As for the consultant, I've been, first of all, I've known Travis for over 20 years. Travis and I worked together in the flood program, and I've been in the flood program for more than 20 years. And when I retired the first time, I was sitting in bed one day, and I'm thinking, I've got all this knowledge about the industry, about companies, and what is the one thing that really kept me up at night? And, you got, when you're running companies, there's claims, there's people, there's, personnel issues and regulatory and things like that. But the one thing that was beyond my control was always the software, the IT. It's always been, you look back in the 80s and 70s, companies were trying to develop their own systems. They wanted to do it homegrown. And over the time, they kind of started reaching out to other vendors to try to get help, because this industry has become so complicated, and slowly companies have come up to try to provide help with administrative platforms. The problem that we've had since the very beginning of that, in my opinion, is it's overpromise, underdeliver, and the price can be 8-10 times what they promised, what you contracted at, and actually that's to me just criminal. And companies keep doing it, and they talk about it. Here's my situation with X company, Y company, Z company. Yeah, I've got the same experience. And it's frustrating because I'm not an IT guy, but we rely on technology. And we need to have a decent operating system. We need to have partners. And if you look at a lot of the vendors out there, I don't believe they're partners. They're out to make money. They know insurance companies have money. They sign a contract with them, and that $1 million fee that's supposed to take 3 years ends up being $5 million in 8 years. It just doesn't make any sense for me. And so that's when I started. Travis asked me to be on the board of directors, on an advisory board back in 2018. And so I've been working with the advisory board, and he's listened to all of the frustrations I had as a CEO. The cost, you're paying all this money before you even get anything. So Travis has really taken a look at all of the frustrations I've had in developing Solstice, and he's done something that nobody has done yet, and that's create a great platform that you don't pay for it until you start using it. And it's not a licensing issue. You pay as you grow, and we grow as you grow. So it is a true partnership. And you look at many of these vendors out there, it's not a partnership. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're not alone there. I think it's a popular opinion that's out there. It does seem to keep happening, though. So there are definitely some vendors out there that I would say are predatory in nature. But there's also some responsibility on the insurance carrier side as well. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. And let me just ask, how do you believe that insurance companies can better embrace technology? Like you said, there's, over promise, under delivers. How can insurance companies themselves better embrace some of the technology that's out there in order to improve, efficiency and customer experiences?
Sure. Let's face it, I think we're in an era of heightened competition, and evolving customer expectations. Presenting customer experience isn't just a choice anymore, it's a requirement. We've got to take care of the customers. We're in a situation where many companies are looking at process over people. And we've got to recognize the people are the key to our success. Yes, we need the technology. Yes, we need all of these IT initiatives, but it's all about the people that's most important, I think. We need to unite innovation, expertise, and trust to create a more customer-focused future. I think user-friendly portals, self-service functionality, offering personalized quote tools, not just so that people could do a quote and strip down the coverages to get the least price. We need to give them the tools to be able to understand what coverages are important to me, and what can I have, what's optional, and what's necessary. I think that's going to be a very big key to things because, just as an example, I've got a friend that took out a policy online, and he was looking for the cheapest. So he took out a policy with $25,000 limits. He had a comp and collision, no underinsured motorist, and he was happy about the price. Well, he was in an accident with a vehicle that didn't have insurance. It didn't go good for him, and he's still suffering the price. So I think we need to personalize customer service. We need to leverage the digital marketing. I think we need to improve the claims process and improve the IT efficiencies and really look at the bottom line is how can we get the best IT at the best cost and really trust the partners that we're partnering with.
Yeah, creating that trust is huge, and in a lot of places that's really a cultural shift because there is this kind of almost adversarial relationship sometimes between the carriers and their vendors, their IT vendors.
Well,
And
it's also within the companies. There's an adversarial relationship between IT and the rest of the company. I mean, IT is sitting in a building over on this side, and the rest of the company is operating here. And IT, yes, they may be communicating, but they're running the show when it comes to, implementing an IT system or an administration system. And the other areas of the company, although they have input, they kind of get lost in the process. So I think that's an important shift that companies really need to make.
yeah, I was just going to ask you about that shift. Is it because it's been that way at least as long as I've been involved in the insurance industry,
Sure.
on both sides, the carrier and the vendor side, and it just seems to be pervasive. Is it
Yeah.
something that we just accept that's the way it is, or is there any kind of secret sauce that we can stir up that will kind of break that habit?
That's a interesting question because we need to break that cycle. We need to figure out a way to break it. And I think Solstice has found a solution that's going to solve that problem for a lot of companies. Until the IT vendors realize their place in how to implement their systems efficiently, and actually care about the carriers that they're working with. I think that's going to be the key to this whole process changing.
And you kind of hit on this a little bit, and so this might be a little bit of a repeat, but I would like to go back to it some, and that's that, beginning with sort of the premise that, insurance companies have notoriously been kind of slow to innovate and change, very risk averse, because that's the nature of insurance business, right?
Right.
You're a risk averse business. And sometimes that can kind of permeate into how you move an insurance company forward. But I think, consumer expectations beyond insurance, just in general, are causing a shift that really is forcing insurance companies to be more innovative faster. And just would like to get your thoughts on that. What are some of the consumer expectations that you've seen out there? How have these shifts occurred? Where do you see it going?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think we as an industry need to rethink our existing processes. I think we need to retrain our staff and foster a culture of innovation versus keep doing it as we've been doing it. I think a lot of companies have a very rigid hierarchy, which still has a place in the world today. But as these hierarchies get thicker and thicker, there's more and more red tape, which slows them down. I think that's something that companies need to consider. Where are we how is our hierarchy hurting us? How is it slowing us down? How is it coming in the way of progress? Rapid revelation means, the traditional approaches just don't work anymore. Again, red tape creates confusion. So I hope that answered your question.
For me, it kind of all falls under this umbrella of we need organizational, behavioral, cultural change.
Right.
The companies that focus on that sort of thing, or maybe they just started out with it, so it's already inherent in the culture. But those that have been around for a while that need to make that shift, had better do it, right? Or they're going to be left behind.
I agree with you. Yeah.
All right. Hey, just one more question for you, Joseph. If you could look back over the last 23 years or so, or over your career, 23 years or so as an officer of a super regional, successfully running a couple of companies, what are some of your biggest challenges and regrets that you experienced? And, if you knew what you know now, how might you do things differently or improve upon things?
That's another real good question. It's a difficult one, but again, like I said, I was in bed one night and I thought, what is the one thing that was most frustrating to me? And it was the IT, right? Administrative platforms. I've been involved in about 6 administrative transitions, and all of them were nightmares. All of them were a complete mirror of each other. They all went terrible. They all, when you have to go to the board of directors and say, it's been 3 years, we contracted at $1 million in 3 years, now it's going to be 6 years and $6 million. And, you're talking about a company that's got a written premium of 35, 40 million. That's a lot of money to suck up over a year. And you go to your board of directors and it's like, jeepers creeps, what a day I just had, right? Because you got to explain that. So I think probably I would have been more involved in the IT implementation. I mean, I was involved, but not to the extent where I think I could have. There's a fine line of letting others handle it, letting certain departments handling it when it's a company-wide issue, right? So I don't know if I've had an answer to it, because I look at all the companies that we went with new administrative platforms, and I don't know if there was a choice at the time. You go out there and you shop, you spend 2-3 years trying to find a platform, and then by the time you find a platform, it's going to be 5-6 years before you actually get the first policy onto it. There's got to be a better way of doing it, because we got to be able to turn our ship, turn on a dime. We can't turn in the entire ocean to get to the other side, right?
Yeah.
And this has been a problem that's not unique to me. This is a problem for the industry. I don't know if other industries have that problem. I've never heard of banks that have such IT issues like this. I've never heard of, any other corporations that have issues like this. But that's one thing I think I would have been more involved in trying to find out what's the answer. What is the company to partner with, and how can we do it best? And I don't know if I could have been successful any different looking in hindsight either, because there weren't that many choices out there. As a small company, you don't have a lot of choices. There's some very, very good companies out there, IT companies, that they won't look at a company under 500 million. And when you're sitting at 40 million in premium, that's just not, you're not going to get a chance. So you've got to look for other vendors in sometimes they're startup vendors and sometimes they've been around for a long time. I think due process would have been a better thing if we would have spent more time looking at other companies that went to the vendor recently, But then again, you're talking about, it's a catch-22 because then you're talking about, okay, I'm going to spend more time to be able to evaluate which company we're going to go with. Now, instead of being 2 years of evaluating and researching which company you want, now you're going at 4 years, and another 6 years to get it implemented, and 10 years from now, the world changes. I mean, technology is moving so fast that we've got to come up with a solution to this because it looks like the insurance industry is moving slow. It looks like they're slow to change. I don't believe that's a fact. I think that the companies want to change fast, but they don't have the options. They don't have the ability because the limitations that are out there right now.
It's a very, very complex business, and I think unless you live within it, that's not always so apparent. And,
right.
But it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had all the answers, but the one thing that I'm proud of is that working with Travis and the team over at Solstice, there's no better people that really care, and it's a pleasure to be affiliated with them.
Well, Joseph, speaking of pleasures, it's been a pleasure to have you on the SIP. Really appreciate you taking some time and sharing some of your experience, knowledge, and wisdom. And greatly appreciate it.
Right. Well, thank you, Jim. I really appreciate it, and you have a great day.